Have you ever asked a question that you already know the answer to? We do this with our friends sometimes, or we'll ask a question like, how are you feeling, when we know that there's something deep going on in their lives? And in a more surface level, I do this with my kids. I'll ask them questions like, who left the banana peel downstairs, or who left water in the bathtub, or whatever it happens to be. But I already know the answer. I know who had a bath last. I know who grabbed a banana. So why am I asking these questions? Why do we ask our friends these questions? And part of the reason is because we want them to be able to come clean. We want them to be able to confess what they've done, and more importantly, to have them understand that there's love on the other side of that there's acceptance on the other side of that the love that I have for them outweighs maybe a mistake that they've made. And so Jesus did this much better than I ever could. There's this beautiful story in Mark 5 where there's a woman who's subject to bleeding for 12 years. And she sees Jesus. And she reasons with herself that if she's able to reach out and touch him, touch even just the hem of his garment, that something good will happen. And let me say that something good always happens when you reach out to Jesus. But what happens? She is immediately healed, and she senses it in her body. Jesus senses it as well, and so he begins walking around and asking, who touched me? Who touched me? And this woman who has lived the last 12 years with an inconceivable amount of shame doesn't want to confess. She doesn't want to come forward and say what she's done. Now, I think a lot of us are in that place. Maybe we've done something, maybe something has just happened in our lives, and it causes us this shame. And shame is one of the tools of the enemy that he uses to isolate us. He wants us to feel isolated because he knows that we're weak when we're isolated, but we're strong when we're together. And so she feels this shame, but I think there's another force at work as well. And maybe she recognizes that there is reconciliation, or that she can be set right during this whole process. So there's these two forces going against her. The desire to hide because of shame, and the desire to be better. And eventually that one wins out, and she confesses, and it says that she tells him the whole truth. Now, how therapeutic is that? How does Jesus meet her? You say, you're unclean, you shouldn't have touched me, you shouldn't have done. He calls her daughter. He welcomes her in. He lets her know that no matter what's happened in her life, his love for her is greater. And God puts us in communities. A lot of us are in connect groups. And connect groups are just like families. It's this beautiful thing that we get to be a part of. And so the shame that we might feel in a certain area of life, I think, is nothing compared to the love and grace that Jesus has for us. And he extends that through community. I know in my life, when I feel like there's something that I can't share with people, I feel like they wouldn't understand, or that maybe what's happened to me is somehow elevated over something else, and I choose to share it with someone anyway, I've been met by love. I've been met by acceptance and grace. And I encourage you to share that as well. Shame is not from God. I'll say that again. Shame does not come from God. But he's given us family. He's given us friends to be able to share these things and to feel and experience his love.